Let me go ahead and answer your first question straight away. No, Niantic hasn't announced or even hinted that there is going to be another Pokemon Go wild area anytime soon. But if the court will allow, I wish to present my case that not only is there another wild area event coming down the pipeline, but it will happen much sooner than you may think. And I intend to prove this by using two key pieces of evidence. So without further ado, let's get speculating. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, allow me to introduce my first piece of evidence, the calendar. In 2020, Niantic introduced what is easily the game's single largest event, Global Pokemon Go Fest, which allowed players all around the world to purchase a ticket and enjoy a weekend of activities and bonuses. While this event initially took place in July, in 2022 it was moved to the month of August, where it has remained to this day. In 2021, Niantic introduced the tour events that showcase prospective regions from the games. Like GoFest, these are major, weekend-long, in-game events that players can buy tickets to and which always take place in the month of February, or 6 months away in either direction from GoFest. So we have two major events taking place in the game with a 6-month gap separating them, making them equidistant from one another on the calendar. The Wild Area event, which was just introduced this past week, means that we now have 3 global ticketed events. But if you place it in the month of November, you can see that the amount of time separating each event means something needs to happen right around here in the month of May. These events, along with a continually engaged player base, represent a major source of income for Niantic, and to me it just makes sense to have something every 3 months, rather than leaving a 6-month gap in the calendar between February and August. Oh, I hear you say, but even if you're right, why would that something have to be another Wild Area event? Why couldn't it be something else? Well, that ties in nicely with my second piece of evidence, which is that the indications of it being another wild area are, well, in the wild. You can see the signs if you take a look at what was just offered this past weekend. Mighty Pokemon, the biggest draw from the Wild Area event, are fully evolved Pokemon with unusually high stats, levels, and shiny odds. They are largely based on the spawns found in the wild area of Galar in Pokemon Sword and Shield, where players would encounter unusually high-leveled, fully evolved, and very aggressive Pokemon that they are wildly unprepared for, and you can run into them as soon as the world opens up. This area can spawn 130 species of these super strong Pokemon, depending on the in-game weather. While the Pokemon Go Wild area only contains 16, this too is evidence that they will be used again in the future. And besides, if you look at which ones Niantic chose for the first Wild Area event, a noticeable pattern emerges, which points to future Wild Area events. Why did we get Gyarados but not Lapras? Why Dragonite but not Tyranitar? Why Tyrantrum but not Aurorus? Why Electivire but not Magmar? If you examine the choices made by Niantic, they not only imply more events of this nature in the future, but a definitive second part. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I submit to you that not only do we have a recurring event on our hands, it is a biannual event that is currently coming over the horizon, a global ticketed Wild Area event coming in May 2025. Now, if my evidence wasn't convincing, the rest of this video probably won't interest you. But if it did, or if you're still on the fence, let's take a look at what this next event might look like. Welcome, trainers, to Pokemon Go Wild Area Spring 2025. Should probably work on that name. But let's start from the beginning and see what we can speculate. The Wild Area event saw the introduction of Toxtricity, whose dual typing of Poison and Electric dictated what types of Pokemon spawned during the event. Looking at the other Gen 8 dual-type Gigantamax Pokemon that could fill this role, we have Orbeetle, which is Bug and Psychic, Dreadnought, which is Water and Rock, Coalossal, which is Rock and Fire, Flapple and Appleton, which are each Grass and Dragon, Centiskorch, which is Fire and Bug, Hatterene, which is Psychic and Fairy, Grimmsnarl, which is Dark and Fairy, and Duraludon, which is Steel and Dragon. We can rule out Hatterene since she is already in the game. Orbeetle has just recently been teased, so that wouldn't fit into introducing it at another wild area. Flapple, Appleton, Grimmsnarl, and Duraludon don't have typings that feel conducive to a springtime event. That leaves Dreadnought and Centiskorch, and if I were a betting man, I would put my money on Centiskorch, since this latest Wild Area event seemed to deliberately avoid fire types. So, okay, Centiskorch and Dynamax Centiskorch make their Pokemon Go debut. Gigantamax Centiskorch is ready to radiate. Sizzlipede will be hatching from 10-kilometer eggs during this event. Trainers may even hatch a shiny Sizzlipede if they are lucky. Snorlax is ready to, pop? I don't know, a tutu? Choose your path. Ticket holders will have access to an exclusive branching research story. Select between fire or bug type and become an expert trainer of your chosen type. In the wild, for all trainers, event-themed Pokemon will appear in 2 unique habitats. Let's just switch some things up here. Fire Hour. Charmander, Vulpix, Growlithe, Hisuian Growlithe, Ponyta, Magmar, Slugma, Houndour, Numel, Darumaka, Litwick, and Litleo. Bug Hour. Parasect, Venonat, Pinsir, Ledyba, Pineco, Shuckle, Kricketot, Sewaddle, Dweeble, and Dewputter. Mighty Pokemon. Okay, let's see what we can find in the Pokemon Sword and Shield wild area that was left out. Saturday, we have Noctowl, Steelix, Lapras, Abomasnow, Conkeldurr, Gigalith, Aurorus, and Araquanid spawning in the wild. Sunday, we have Charizard, Machamp, Meganium, Tyranitar, Magmortar, Rhyperior, Klinklang, and Beware. Yep, that's it. That's what I'm going with. Of course, I could have this all totally wrong, so if you're watching this in the future, have fun laughing at me if I did. Later.